Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome to High Level StarCraft 2. Today we have Classic taking on Falcon's Solar in a Protoss versus Zerg here, starting on Whispers of Gold. Now, both of these players have been playing an absolute crap ton of online tournaments as of late. It's kind of rare to see, first of all, Zerg players in online tournaments. A lot of, especially the European Zergs, are not very keen on playing online tournaments, preferring to kind of save up their stuff for bigger offline events. But as there's currently no offline events announced, we just haven't been seeing a whole lot of the big name European Zergs. Shin and Solar have been the two boys that have been, kind of carrying the Zerg torch, so to say, over the past few weeks, over the past few months even, perhaps. And I do feel like that players that tend to play a lot of tournaments, especially online cups, they tend to just perform a little bit better nowadays. I feel like there's been such a massive shift if you compare the early 2010s, 2012, 2015 to what we have nowadays, where the highest level of players are really the players that also play a crap ton of online competitions. There are very little top level players. You got your Serals, your Marus, and Raynor. I think those are like the main three that don't really play a whole lot of online competition. But all the other ones, they freaking love just grinding it out every single time they can. Like, it isn't weird to see Clem play 2-3 open cups a day. And yes, he won about 400k at the Esports World Championship, but that doesn't stop him from grinding out these $100 or $200 tournaments just to kind of keep the shape up and to always be on the cutting edge of the meta. It's really sick that during a day, we sometimes see more meta game changes than we saw in the past over the course of like multiple weeks. It's because these high-level players, they just face each other so often and they kind of develop their own little meta game like between one another, and also just new strategies coming up. It's really cool to see. I'm curious to see what we're going to get here out of Classic and Solar. So far, we're starting with a fast evolution chamber for Solar, so wanting to get into the quick +1 melee upgrades. On the other hand, Classic with a triple Oracle wants to get a little bit of damage done, doesn't quite get it. We have 3 queens now moving down, 2 queens kind of in a sandwiching motion here, with the 2 Oracles in between. Gonna form the patty of this sandwich, of this burger. Well, actually just getting a single Oracle or a single drone, that's a lot of energy wasted on those bad boys. Still kind of looking around for something. Creep spread has not been phenomenal. Has been a lot of things, but definitely not phenomenal. One thing I saw Classic do the other day, I can't even recall what games I was watching of Classic, but it was against the Zerg, and he opened up with these 6-gate blink openers with just a ridiculously fast fort base before fort. Basically a complete switch up from what we are used to seeing out of Protoss players, where most of the time we see Protoss players, oh my god, this is a terrible start here for Classic, losing like 4 or 5 workers. That absolutely blows, as Oracles do come in. They're also going to kill a couple of workers. So trading blows for now. But yeah, what I was going to say is that we've seen in the past just really fast forts plus Twilight, kind of allowing the Protoss player to get that quick +1 and deal some damage with a blink push. And Classic saying, hey, I actually want a higher gateway count faster, and I want to save some of that cash that I usually invest into an upgrade to just get more Stalkers out. As long as I manage to kind of survive into the mid-game stages, I feel quite confident in my position. And most of the time people are defending with Lings. There's no change in kind of interaction, Stalker versus Ling, if you have +1 or not. Yes, there's some interactions between Zealot and Ling, whether you have +1 or not, but I guess Classic doesn't really care so much. And here we see Solar already spamming out a lot of these Zerglings, wanting to maybe make a bit of an impact the moment we'll see him move out. Now, I thought this was just going to be a straight-up 6-gate, and I think it is actually. It's just going to be a straight-up 6-gate, going into gases 5 and 6 as well. There's a lot of gas in the bank. Now, you could say, wow, that's a very inefficient build order, right? Usually, at the highest level, we see build orders that really maximize for some type of timing. But in this case, it makes a lot of sense because behind this, there we go. Classic wants to throw down this Templar Archives and actually get Templar out. So saving a bit of gas is really nice because it makes the Templar transition much, much more convenient for him. Solar, by the way, is actually pumping out a bunch of roaches here. Already has +1 melee. So I'm kind of feeling like this is going to be a a bit of a 5 gas all in here out of Solar. He's getting that Overlord speed. He's skipping the 6th gas. Does not have any drones on this fort base quite yet. Queen is going to survive for now. Link's coming in with a flank. Would love for some of these stasis to be pre-triggered before he comes in with the, you know, with the full surround from the side. 6 more Overlords on the way as well. And Solar walked into a little bit of a supply block. Sees the Zealot warp in right now. And here comes the Forge. 7 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. First Forge. That is extremely late. But Classic is going to have a high Stalker count. It's going to have quick Templar. And all of that is kind of possible because we have that initial delay on that +1. On that +1. It does help quite a bit. We're going to go for double drops here, by the way, is Solar. It's going to get 16 links into the main base with +1. Of course, are capable of taking out units at a very high pace. Now, here, having that extra upgrade for Classic might have actually come in handy, because dealing with Zergling run-bys, warping in some Zealots, especially if they have +1, is an absolutely phenomenal tool to do that, to kind of do that. Oracle does get the revelation of on the move out. We have Storm. We have a high Stalker count. I think this should theoretically just be a fairly easy hold here for Classic, as long as these 16 links in the main base aren't going to completely ruin his life. So here we go, 16 links coming in, Oracles being very active here with the damage output, couple of storms coming down from the sky as well. Drop enters the main base, there is nothing ready, no warp in, nothing. The same time we see Solar just pushing through here with the Ravagers. All of these Ravagers are very bruised already, another storm is going to land on top of them, as Link's just dealing so much damage. A lot of these workers have fallen already. Main base is practically completely out of probes at this point, but Classic is going to survive for now. We have an energy recharge, which could be used on one of these Oracles to try and deal with these links. It's not really what Classic is doing. Seems like Classic's plan here is to just kind of move across the map and win the game. I much would have preferred to see him actually deal with this threat a little bit better. Even if you're on 55 or 60-ish workers, you're not that far behind. And you have a lot of tools here in the toolkit. Like, you have that Oracle count still at 3, which is very good, very reasonable. We have +1 about to finish. We have the Templar Archives and 8 gateways. So infrastructure is looking phenomenal. All you really need to do, warp in 2-3 Templar, make sure that no extra drones are being produced, and I think you can just kind of continue down this path. The Templar, I think, should have been warped in just a little bit earlier. I'd love to see an energy recharge here. It's going to instantly give this Templar 2 storms available. So we're going to have round number 2 here, coming out of Solar, of course. He's going to start hitting this set of rocks, the debris. Oracle's perhaps in a little bit of trouble. 1 Ravager goes down. Not a lot of energy on these bad boys, as the redrop into the main base. Once again, the cannon is just not ready. We're going to have +1 available for us right now, but no Zealot warping, and that means that we're going to lose way more workers in that main base. First storm is bad, second storm is good. We still have 2 storms remaining over here. Let's see what they can hit. 1 storm is kind of okay, and the second one is smack bang in the middle of those roaches there. The Queen Roach Ravagers trying to push through, and I think the links in the main base might have actually just dealt enough damage here, in which the reinforcements now coming from the front are going to be capable of just finishing the job here. There is no real buffer for this Stalker Immortal Force, no Archons, no Zealots, there are no Spellcasters to help out. Where are the Oracles? They've all died. Where are the Templars? They're all gone. And the main base is pretty much completely out of probes. I think at this point Solar would probably be okay with just killing this fort base and just kind of heading back home, but he can also just hold down that Zergling Roach button and see if he can go for the complete kill here. I mean, he's doubling the supply of his opponent, pretty much tripling the army supply over here as well. Needs to be really careful, because Immortals do pack a punch, but I do believe with the next Ling reinforcements, it is going to be just fine. As another Immortal is gonna fall. Immortal number 2 is on the way to Protoss Heaven as well. He's gonna meet up with his buddy over there, and Classic gonna tap out. I'm honestly surprised to see Solar managing to take out Classic so easily, especially given how safe Classic setup is supposed to be. Like, if you're kind of brainstorming the safest possible way to get into the mid game, I think Classic has pretty much figured it out. Like, this is it. So it is going to be execution errors that lose him games like that. And I think the biggest one there obviously is going to be that link drop hitting the main base and just absolutely murdering every single probe in there. I mean, it's just not a very good look there for Classic. Like, just too slow of a response. I think the ideal response is going to be either sending some type of Oracle back home, or having some type of Zealot Warp. And the problem with Zealot Warp-ins is that if the Zerg is paying attention, they can just kind of run into your natural. And if you don't have charge, I mean, Zealots are not great chasers if they don't have the speedy legs. So it's just always something to really keep in mind, in my opinion. It's like, hey, how do I want to deal with a threat like this? And I do believe that Classic hadn't really considered it yet. Very often in StarCraft 2, these types of things need to be thought out beforehand. I think stuff is really difficult to respond to within the moment. People look at professional players and they're like, oh my god, they're so good at thinking in the moment. That's not actually true. Most of us, most of them, us, we just kind of have stuff figured out ahead of time. Like if X happens, then I'm going to respond with Y. Because if you have to make all of these decisions still in the moment, you're going to be spending so much time just thinking through your options rather than quickly, you know, just executing what you know needs to be done. Experience is just such a powerful kind of tool to have in your belt, under your belt, that or just thinking stuff out. Like you can think out a lot of stuff ahead of time. Like when you're thinking through a builder, be like, hey, if this happens, what am I supposed to do? And even if your response isn't perfect, at least you have some type of a response. And it's going to save you quite a bit of time and having to necessarily think this through. You can instantly start tweaking it the moment this situation arises. This is also one of the reasons why we very frequently see kind of old builds coming back in, or old tricks being reapplied, basically, because people kind of forget what their instant response is supposed to be. Well, this is never correct, by the way. Finishing up these two adept shades over here, right in the middle. It's not what you want at all. It's going to be 2 adepts in exchange for a couple of links. Now, it did cause some chaos, so the indirect damage here is that 3 more drones get taken out by the Oracle, so there's something there, but I think losing 2 adepts in this type of trade is usually not quite what you want. Now, we're going to be throwing down the Twilight Council as well over here in the main base once more. He's just really playing a very similar style. Triple Oracle for super safety in like the first 5.5 minutes, and then just going straight away into 6 gates to have that super safety for the next minute and a half, and then boom, you're going to get Templar Archive. So he's really just kind of moving from safe space into safe space into safe space, and these spaces, they overlap. You know, they keep each other safe in a way. Now, there's also the possibility of this, by the way, to just go for a pretty aggressive push. I mean, you have 6 gateways. You're not investing into a forge. Like, if you're chronoing out Blink a couple of times, I bet you're going to be capable of hitting a pretty sick timing. And given that Solar currently is not actually investing in an upgrade, most likely is going to have a defense that's going to consist of, I was going to say a Roach Warren, but now seeing the fact that there's no Roach Warren makes me believe he actually wants to hold this with Ling into Hydra, which is one of these compositions that can work, but is often just so hard to survive with. Hydras in low numbers really suck, and having to build a crap ton of links before is going to cut massively into your drone count. Links without +1 are not so great to deal with stuff. So very frequently when people defend with Ling Hydra, they kind of get caught in this limbo between all-inning and having a good eco. So you're kind of on like 72, 73 drones, where it's not super comfortably teching into Hive, but you're also not going to be capable of killing anyone, which can feel very frustrating. So an absolute key factor here for Solar is to kind of escape that dead space, that in-between area. And the way to do it, have an initial boost of Hydras, which is what we're seeing right now, off of those 66, 67 workers. You really want to clean this push. You don't want this push to linger so that you have to kind of keep adding in like more and more stalkers over time, just the entire time. You're doing, or sorry, you're adding like Hydras over time. Then it's like 1 or 2 drones and then like 6 more Hydras, 1 or 2 drones and then 6 more Hydras. That's not what you want. You want a full round of Hydra Ling. You want to push this back so that stalkers don't feel like a valid option anymore. And then you just want to fully drone up so that you can get that 8 gas saturation. With the quick Hive, which is always going to be available to you, you have something going on there. But here, this is what I was afraid of. He built 2 drones, 4 more Hydras, 6 more Lings, 3 more drones. Like, this really has to be like the droning up phase right now. And as long as Classic believes that this is the end of the Stalker phase. He's not going to add in more Stalkers, which is kind of what we're seeing now. Like, if the Protoss is getting good trades, they're going to keep adding more and more Stalkers. And you're going to have to keep adding more and more Hydras as well. Right now, we are going up to those 8 gases. We're going up to 77 workers. It is not entirely where you want to be. We don't have a 5th hatchery on the way yet either. But I do believe that Solar has managed to kind of set up shop over here in a very convenient manner. Robotics facility is about to finish up as well. We don't quite have the Fleet Beacon plus 2nd Stargate yet, because now we're kind of going into phase 4 of Classic's plan, and that is most likely going to be 2nd Stargate plus Fleet Beacon. Majority of the time that is going to be the follow-up nowadays for Protoss players, because Tempests are just such a useful tool to have against Lurkers. As Oracles just kind of hold positioning here. We have 3 cannons on the way, all of them over here on this base. I really hate this base, by the way. I'm just not a fan of this as a Protoss player. If you can set it up over time, it's great, because this is a great launching point for any type of attack, right? You're so close by to many different positions. You have this high ground you can kind of abuse. If you get a good Tempest count out, it's great, but early on, like, having to protect this ledge is really quite difficult. Lurkers can hit your minerals. On top of that, your 8 gas is pretty much inactive for quite a while, because you have this mineral field blocking it. You can't actually construct an assimilator on there, because this mineral patch is, you know, it's just blocking it out. This is to stop Zergs from expanding towards this as a fort and just massing, you know, these expensive gas units. We are going to see the Fleet Beacon plus 2nd Stargate. We also have some Immortals being pushed into this army camp right now. Templars being added into the mix still. And here comes Solar. We're most likely going to have a double split army and maybe even some type of a drop. So here we're going to get that low ground attack that I was so afraid of. Lurkers on the low ground. Actually, this lurker count is kind of pathetic. We have 4 lurkers, 4 lurkers at home over here for no reason whatsoever. I'm not sure what these guys are doing. I think Solar honestly just forgot them. That is not good. 4 more lurkers here would be phenomenal. Yeah, now it's like, wait a second. I thought I built more. It's like, yeah, you did build more. Probably should have figured it out a little bit faster. The first set of Tempest, I do believe, is about to come out. I thought we'd had some already. More cannons being added into the mix as another battery comes down as well. 5th base is on the menu here for Classic. All he needs to do is order it right now, as the Spire gets added into the mix. And this is the standard type of follow-up, right? You're going for that initial lurker push, maybe even with a drop heading into the natural, maybe with some kind of side attacks. Hello, we need high ground vision, buddy. Oh, this is really sad. I think if he had high ground vision here, you're actually dealing a lot of damage. Overseer is now moving in. But yeah, what I was going to say is that the follow-up is going to be the Spire, because you're going to need the Corruptors to deal with those Tempests. These Lurkers took an absolute beating already. Both Overseers being taken out. And, I mean, if the Zerg doesn't bring enough Overseers, then you're not really attacking anything here, because you can't see up to the, you know, up to the high ground, then you can't shoot it. Do we have the Hydra Quick Legs? I don't think we do, actually. We only have the... I mean, we have the Muscular Augments, but we don't have the Nanomuscular Swell. Okay, we're going to research it right now. Giving them the lunge ability. We're going to split up these forces. Vipers being added into the mix, as well as a 3rd Stargate. Mothership, 5th base. Very clear plan here for Classic as to what he wants to really do. Get some Storms in, forward. This is just a Hydra Ling run-by. Hydra Ling run-bys by themselves are practically useless against Templar defense, because both of them suck so hard against Storm. There's 4 Storms here combined. We have 4 cannons as well. I think it will be impossible for Solar to do anything useful here, if I'm being real honest. We have Classic already out on the map. It's going to be adding in carriers into the mix as well right now. Relatively low Tempest count, to be honest. I thought we were going to get to higher numbers. Okay, he still has 2 in the back as well. He has 5 total. At the same time, this should be such an easy hold here. I'd be shocked if Classic manages to, you know, to lose this position. Up top. It's going to be up to 5 bases against the 6 of Solar, but Solar will not be capable of getting gas from here. So in that case, I think a 6th base is relatively useless. The only reason why you really want a 6th in the first place is because you can get those extra gases running. Like, it's not like you're lacking minerals at this point, or at least you shouldn't really be lacking minerals. Gas most likely is going to be the bottleneck of this composition, as Solar actually is very keen here on attacking. It's going to just run in here. So far hasn't even killed a single Tempest. Instead is going to divert his attention onto those Oracles. Gets a single one. That's not quite great. We have a Parasitic Bomb here coming on top of them Tempest. Mothership being targeted down will end up falling, so that is nice. Tempest are pretty freaking fragile here, as we can see that. Corruptors are doing a number on them. Carriers do show up though, and actually will start dishing out a lot of damage. At the same time, we have a Zealot run by here towards the top. It's going to start working seriously on this 5th base. Solar might be breaking through though. I'm not sure if he has enough anti-air in this position, as there's no more Corruptors on the map right now. We still have 1 Carrier and 2 Tempest. Zealot run by is putting in some serious work as well. Adrenal Glands is on the links, and only 71 workers to 72. That means that this type of fight would have been phenomenal for Solar if he had 2k in the bank. He goes in again and, you know, he's just maxed out. But that's not the case at all here for Solar. Solar actually is really freaking poor. Does not have a lot of cash. Is not focusing with these Corruptors on the units he needs to be focusing on. Just keeps fighting Interceptors this entire time, which is really bad. Lurkers continuing to battle here as well. Corruptor count is just so freaking weak. As Lynx want to fight this. I'm not sure if they can. Maybe with the Adrenal this is going to be good enough. +2 versus just +1 in Adrenal. Adrenal is going to pack quite a punch. Corruptors here perhaps flying into their death. I would love for Solar, by the way, to just clear this base. There's 12 workers there. That would actually set Classic back a massive amount, down to 56 probes, which would be just simply not enough to stay economically active in this game. But now Classic, with the similar income to Solar, is actually going to win game number 2. And that straight away brings us to game number 3, in which Classic actually executed a hatch block. As a result, we see the natural hatchery over here. We've seen a similar style of Classic in those first 2 games. On a map like Amygdala, I'd be shocked to see something different. You just have these really easy access to 3rd, 4th, 5th, maybe 5ths, like just a lot of bases that are kind of nearby, but that's not at all what we're seeing. Wow. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to this. I am not necessarily opposed to this. But it is rare to see a robo facility as the initial structure. It is very rare to see a robotics facility. I've seen glaive builds quite a bit in my time, all right? I've seen a lot of Stargate openers. But the Robo is a different beast. The reason why the Robo is a different beast is because there's just a limited amount of things you can do from it while being safe. Actually, there's very little things you can do from a Robo facility opener while also being safe at the same time. It is not an opener that is known for its, its built-in safety measures. It absolutely is not. So the problem with the robotics facility is not that you don't have any aggressive options. You have plenty of aggressive options. You can go for disruptor drops. We've seen immortal attacks out of it. We've seen Colossus after the disruptor drop coming in. Like, all of that stuff is actually well known. The problem with this particular build order is that if you want to expand, it is really freaking hard to take a 3rd base. So most of the time, when Zerg players see this type of opener, they can just kind of blindly start building units. They just keep building units the entire way through. And they're, oh my god, this is the single gas build. This, I haven't seen this build in so long. The last time I saw it must have been like a year and a half, 2 years ago when Haas did it. I think he used to play it on Golden Aura, or it was a different map maybe even. It had the gold base in the corner. No, that was on Golden Aura, I think. I think he did it on Golden Aura a couple of times. So this is basically a... I don't even know how to describe this build, to be honest. It is a wild one, though. It is absolutely a wild build order. You're going to go across the map with a single Immortal, 2 Zealots, and you might even send these units across the map. You're going to fly in, and you're just going to warp in pure Zealots, okay? And the goal is to hit as hard, as fast, as powerful as possible. It's actually setting up shop here behind this, which is kind of weird. What the hell is his plan? Oh, he's going to the elevator over to... I don't quite understand the purpose of this, but sometimes in life you don't have to understand the purpose. Just appreciate the result, perhaps. That's what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to have our next warp in. He's slightly supply blocked. We have 5 more Zealots. 3 more can be warped in after this pylon finishes up as well. I think a Classic is actually struggling back here. We're going to have the attack in between the bases. This is vital because it allows you to push them into one side. Now we have spines on the way as well. Roach Warren in a very forward position. This spine is in some trouble. We're going to get the surround right away on that Immortal out of these links. Another Zealot Warpin is going to secure the Immortal once more. Roach Warren is now being slapped by these Zealots. Prism moving towards the left side. If these Zealots can get in a mineral line, that would be a big freaking deal. Every second that goes by, though, is generally considered a bad second here for Classic, because Solar is outmining his opponent by 200-300 minerals a minute. That means that unit production is just going to be in favor of Solar. I would love to see some extra queens being added because we have some money flotation at this moment. Zealots are trying to connect with this Queen Roach army, and I actually think that Solar's doing a very decent job so far on this bottom side, staying alive. The problem is that he's starting to lose a couple of workers, and we're one big warp in away from maybe 6, 7, 8 more workers going down. Then all of a sudden, your eco isn't looking that hot anymore. As more and more Zealots are moving in forward. Roach count actually is looking pretty pathetic. The Immortal has managed to stay alive for a very long time. We're going to get another pickup on that thing. It's going to stay alive. Good pickup micro here out of Classic, who is going to get another warp in here. This Immortal has 18 kills and 3 HP remaining. Good pickup. It's starting to regain some of its shields right now. Queens have largely died. 30 drones to 32 probes. That means at this point in time, we're actually going to have a massive advantage here for Classic, who's out mining his opponent in a big way because he's not mining any gas. And Solar is mining some gas because he needs to afford those roaches. That means that we're going to have more mineral units warped in. The Immortal dies. Blunder hour here out of Classic as he loses this Immortal. I guess it only had 3 HP remaining, but it still freaking sucks. Has he returned to mining gas? Yes, with a single worker. That means he can now warp in some individual stalkers, but I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough. The Immortal is the backbone of this push, and without the backbone, it's going to be difficult to continue walking here. We have another Zealot warping coming in. Stalkers in the back, dealing the damage versus the armored roaches. So they have a little bit of that bonus damage, but I just don't think it's going to be good enough. We have one more roach falling. We have a pickup, and now I think we need to go fully back into gas here. Worker production. And see how we can transition out of this. We see the instant response of like 8 more drones out of Solar. I think that is just correct. I actually think you probably want to go up to a worker count where you're reliably outmining your opponent on minerals. So I'm thinking 44, 45 workers is going to just be a very reasonable number here for Solar to kind of hang around on. I would understand it if he doesn't feel comfortable going there, but I actually believe it's pretty vital. His main base is mining out. Oh, so he doesn't have to. He realizes, hey, wait a second. 4 patches in my main base are mining out. That means 4 patches on the other side of the map are going to be mining out. There's going to be some oversaturation. I can actually survive on a similar worker count, but because of the more efficient capacity usage that I have, it's fine to stay on a lower drone count. This is some good in-the-moment thinking here out of Solar, who... really, all he needs to do is not lose 10 workers here, keep building units, and he'll probably be fine. I don't know what this is. I just don't understand this. I guess it is a distraction, but it's an expensive distraction. It is a very expensive distraction. This is like throwing away your iPhone just to make a noise, to pass by the security guard. But the security guard just picks up your iPhone. It's like, oh, nice. Goes back to his post, and you didn't pass him. It's like there was no damage dealt there. He lost freaking 6 Zealots. Gonna have the push out, number 2. Full wall behind this, double Immortal. Now, one thing we do need to kind of mention here is the fact that there's no lair. There's no glial reconstitution, but we do have the investment into the lair. So, this is all the costs, none of the benefits so far. We have a spine coming in, but it's fairly late. This is actually a serious army, by the way. This is a very serious army. I love the Ling attack here. Not because I think this is going to be a successful Ling attack, but it will force a 2 or 3 unit warp in this area. It's actually going to rewall with the Cyber Core. Once again, moving in between the bases. There's double Ravagers now coming out. We have 3 force fields available to us. Maybe 1 Guardian Shield, 2 force fields. Wouldn't mind that either. Here we go. 2 Immortals need to probably be in the front so they can start dishing out damage ASAP. We have another 3 Zealot warp in over here. Income in favor of Solar. Once again, every second that goes by is going to be a good second for Solar. Zealots don't have charge. They're going to have a lot of trouble kind of meeting this Roach army, as this Zealot force is just completely disconnected from the main Immortal army. Immortals are dealing a lot of damage. The way you want to usually micro it is make it so that your Immortals are firing the entire time, and your Zealots are kind of baiting the Roaches into a more forward position. A couple of Biles raining down, doesn't quite hit the Prism in the same way that it wanted to. I do believe that Solar has managed to hold here. It's 38 workers to 38, but 50 supply to 98, doubling his opponent in supply and about 6 times in army supply. This is an issue for Classic, who's warping in 3 more sentries at home, but at this point, just doesn't have enough. He's gonna tap out. Solar wins this game after defending this very old school Zealot Immortal play out of Classic. And that's going to be it for me today. Thanks all so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Bye bye.